Well, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I actually have done a video, and I'm thankful I get an opportunity to do one once again. So with that, hello everybody. It is your DJ Crazy Tom backing at you. A video edition of Crazy Tom's What Drives Me Crazy is here for this Tuesday, August the 30th. I do want to start by giving a couple of birthday shouts. First to my brother Kevin, who just turned 37 years young today, so many happy returns to my brother, as I mentioned that. And another special birthday to my cousin Sammy, who lives up in Connecticut now. Now, those of you who follow me may remember the story a couple months ago that Sammy had to have emergency heart surgery in Connecticut, and she is on the road to recovery after, thankfully, a very close call. I mean, she was very close to not even making it, but with the grace of God, she was able to, and now she's able to resume her life and try and recover to be as healthy as possible. So, Sammy, many happy returns. A very special birthday for you. I'm absolutely sure of it. Now, for what drives me crazy here today, I thought about a couple of things, but I'm going to stay in the state of South Carolina. Now, those of you who don't know much about me, I lived for a year in Florence, South Carolina, and it was almost around this time that I actually moved to South Carolina after being offered a music position. In a school district, I taught vocal and general music from 5th to 8th grade, and just about all vocal music from grades 9 through 12. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best overall first music job I got, but it was a year experience to be chalked up. Obviously, things didn't work out with the district, but you know what? Hey, that's the way life goes, and when you're 24, 25 years of age, you don't necessarily understand these things. But in South Carolina recently, there was a lady who I believe went to Travelers Post High School in Greenville and was reprimanded for bringing an American flag to a high school football game, which I was like, what? Is that even possible? And my first thought was that, okay, if you're not allowed to bring an American flag to the football game, when are you going to perform the national anthem before the coin toss? That's what I was wondering. Well, the superintendent basically stated that American flags were banned at sporting events at the high school, but there was an incredible social media uproar that says, all right, never mind, let me clarify. Yes, you can bring American flags. So thankfully, the school district in Greenville did reverse their policy after a lot of news was made yesterday saying American flags were banned because of a isolated incident. But you know what? I just don't understand some people anyway. And sometimes you have to remember superintendents aren't really superintendents. They're more businessmen, if anything else, and could really care less about the people around them. If it's money related, though, then sometimes the change in course has to be taken, such as that case. But I'm not going to mention really much about that. I'm going to mention about an incident that happened not too far away from Greenville, in Clemson. Yes, Clemson University. And I saw a headline that said, "Man stopped from praying on campus. This isn't a free speech area." And the underheading said, an administrator at Clemson University forced a man to stop praying because he was not in a designated free speech area and was therefore soliciting by praying there. And I'm like, is that really true? I don't understand that at all. Well, it kind of looks like it's both sides of the story here. Well, from what I understand, from what a few people have said, a lot of people are saying, oh, you can pray anywhere and it shouldn't be an issue. Well, I do agree. I mean, after all, you're talking South Carolina, you're talking Bible Belt, you're talking blue laws. It's like against the law to sell beer or wine on a Sunday in most cases. But I don't know what's happened since I was there 20 years ago. But there's nothing wrong with praying. But according to the school, this is what I heard. They didn't stop anyone from praying. And this is from a gentleman named Pete who wrote this. They actually stopped someone from organizing a gathering of people on campus without permission. If and when they follow the proper protocol and register with the university, they will be allowed to do what they wish. Keep in mind that the man that was in question was not a student or an employee. It was some guy who showed up on campus that just wanted to start praying with others. And apparently, he brought chairs. Well, the school rightfully has rules about such things. One cannot simply show up and start an unauthorized gathering on the campus. But of course, because we live in the shockwave world of social media and somebody's always butt and any other body part hurt, it will be viewed as anti-religious viral news, and the person from the school that was in question, he was also African American, so in all likelihood, this will turn into a racist thing. But he says that Clemson is a very Christian place. It's not about the fact that the person was praying. It was, number one, a person who was not a student. Number two, he was trying to organize an event on his own without the proper consent of the Clemson administration. I mean, it's just hard to imagine how these things can suddenly be taken out of context. Think about this. I mean, these days, you're hearing this stuff on Colin Kaepernick and why he didn't stand up during the national anthem. I mean, he's basically silently sharing his First Amendment views, although I don't necessarily agree with the action. I mean, after all, the NFL is a business just like any place else. If you think about it, you got to follow the rules. But at the same time, the other religious people will be saying, well, what happens if that person was Muslim? How do you react then? I mean, they can pray anywhere, but Christians can't? Other views I've seen on this have been, this is far more concerning than a mediocre football player exercising his First Amendment rights by being unpatriotic. People want to protest the NFL by not supporting them with their money, well, do the same for these colleges. You don't buy their apparel, you don't buy their football tickets, and you especially don't give money to the Alumni Association because it's what your money is going to. But now, why do you say it's not a free speech area? I mean, you just remember, it's not blocking prayer. But there are policies for any and everything these days. And it's amazing how some of these websites are just going out of control saying, oh, he was denied free speech. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you have to remember, yeah, we're allowed to say whatever heck we want. But sometimes when you're on somebody else's property, there are rules that have to be followed, and such is the case here. And maybe such a situation, and some lady named Lauren wrote this too on the Facebook thread, she said, maybe this will encourage students to meet between classes to pray. I mean, we're not trying to make a big deal out of it, but just pray together. And I very seriously doubt they'll be stopped from doing that. But if they did, I'd certainly feel different about it than I do this case. Stop letting the media distract you and tell you how to feel. Well, yeah, that is true. I mean, the media basically dictates what is presented and what is spun. I mean, we've gone from and that's the way it is to and that's the way we've spun it. But the bottom line is very simple, folks. You got to remember, you have a right to pray. The problem is when you're on other people's property, and I know it happened to be South Carolina again, like 50 miles from Greenville, Clemson University, crazy shouts to the Zeta Tau Alpha chapter there, by the way. You got to remember, you got to follow the rules. You're allowed to pray. There's nothing wrong with that. My hope is that at Clemson or in the University of South Carolina or anyone else does a football game in that state, you have an invocation before the national anthem, just like they do at NASCAR, and you're able to pray that way. I mean, you got to pray for nobody getting seriously hurt. That's really the most important thing. I do that for my semi-pro games I public address. I make sure there's an invocation before the national anthem because, hey, it doesn't matter what religious background you have, everyone prays together because it's all about humanity in the very end. And regardless if you're on the side of Hillary or Trump, the bottom line is we're human. And you got to remember, there's nothing wrong praying. Not everybody's religious. Some people don't believe in God. We have to respect that. But just remember one thing, when it comes to doing things like this, you, of course, have to follow the rules. There's nothing wrong praying. It's just that, according to what I saw, the gentleman was trying to do an event on campus where he wasn't a student, but he never got the permission from the university to do so. That was the mistake here. It's not about, oh, they're taking away our rights to pray. No, that's not it. Sometimes you just got to look at the whole story, and a lot of times I don't necessarily look at the whole story too, and that ends up being my mistake. But please remember, we need prayer more than ever before. So just remember, for a situation like this, hey, gather some people, pray to a higher power, whatever you believe in, whether it's God, Allah, or somebody else. Hey, we're all in this together. And if we're going to survive together, we got to treat each other the way we want to be treated. Not like what happened in southern New Jersey on the Atlantic City Expressway, where there was such a shootout. One person was dead and 4 or 5 others were injured, and everyone was under the age of 40. One person out of the 4 that were arrested was actually 16 years old. Sad, isn't it? That's why we have to pray. Violence doesn't serve anything. It's okay to pray. We just have to look at everything before we come to a final decision. So, before you jump onto any site or ABC and NBCBS/Fox, the reality is, just look deeper into the story and then come to your own conclusions. In my case, it's okay to pray, but what the gentleman did, bottom line, he's not a student, and obviously he tried to do something on campus that he had to let the administration know. I mean, that's really all there is to it. Who knows? It could have been one of those Virginia Tech situations back from 2007, and that could have really been disastrous, if you think about it. But anyway, that's my shindig for today. Remember, you can reach me facebook.com/crazytom. On Twitter, it's @crazytomshow, or through email, djkrayztom@comcast.net. Thanks for watching another edition of Crazy Tom's What Drives Me Crazy with your DJ Crazy Tom. Enjoy yourself, and remember to please stay cool. After all, summer is almost over, and very soon, everyone will be going back to school. So, as they say, educate that noggin. I'm always trying, and I'll catch you again next time for another edition of Crazy Tom's Online What Drives Me Crazy.